One last one.
My question was about Bush also. I believe he recently said that God made him go into Iraq. Is that true? And do you think that's not as fanatical perhaps as terrorism, and has he run out of excuses?
Sorry, what was the last part?
Has he run out of excuses? Is that why he's bringing that one up?
No, I read those comments. They're in a BBC documentary that I think is going to air this week. They're based on interviews with members of the Palestinian Authority in their meetings at the White House with Bush. In one sense, that casts an element of doubt on them for me. In another, it doesn't, because Bush has made similar comments in the past. Probably the best thing I can do is urge you to do a web search of the name of the reporter that I quoted, Ron Suskind, because the piece that I took that quote about the new empire and the new reality from was all about Bush and God. And it's a very lengthy piece. It's a fascinating piece.
Just finally, I don't know if you know, but at the moment, if you put in failure into Google and press I feel lucky, it actually comes up with the White House website.
I've never worked out what the I feel lucky button means on Google.
Just one last question.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. As a media consumer, I'd just like to express my appreciation for the high level of integrity with which you, and application and in earnesty with which you approach your job. My question is in relation to whether or not you believe the fundamental cause of the rise of terrorism against the West is simply an artefact of the difference in wealth between the first and third world, or is it much more ideologically based?
It's ideologically based, and I don't want to sound like an apologist for it by explaining the reasons. I think it's very important that we understand why things are happening. There's always a risk that in explaining why they happen, that you're perceived as an apologist, and that I don't think that's my job, and it's certainly not my intention. But what has happened here is that there have been a series of historic events that have made rabid fringe elements of the Islamic community believe that they can achieve things that they otherwise would not have achieved and would not even have attempted to achieve. Now, there have been Western hands involved along the way in significant parts of those. The most important one having been the American involvement in Afghanistan against the Russians. That created the sense in these people's minds, who might have gone and, they might have done a thing like Monty Python, all sitting around saying, what have the Romans done for us, and done nothing about it. But instead, because they were all given this sense that they could do things and that they could achieve the impossible, they set out to do that. Now, after Afghanistan came the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait. That was when bin Laden went to the House of Sword in Riyadh and said, we have an army of Arabs that fought in Afghanistan. You must let them defend our homeland, the homeland of the holy places, which is vital in Quranic terms. And they said, no, we'll get the Americans to defend it, thank you very much. And that's the contemporary framework within which this battle is being fought. I don't think it's a clash of civilizations. I think it's a clash. In a way, it is more a clash of empires based on an ill-conceived view in one that it can win the war that it has started.